Welcome to the feast. I unleash. I'm a motherfucking beast.
What's up, YouTube fam? So today I wanted to do a quick sit down video talking about the importance of muscle recovery and stretching. So I had a Snapchat rant about talking about why you shouldn't skip stretching, why you shouldn't skip foam rolling, and if you're completely sore like all the time, then there's either something wrong with the time in between your workouts, your sleep, or your macros, or your stretching and recovery, which is the fourth and final factor. So this video is going to kind of cover all those topics that have to do with muscle recovery, as well as I'm going to show you guys a video of me foam rolling and showing you my favorite stretches to help improve your flexibility and your recovery from your workouts, especially for lower body in this video, and I will probably include some upper body mobility and some upper body foam rolling in my next video. So just a couple housekeeping updates, I guess you could call them. First of all, shout out to Peter from Ape Athletics. This t-shirt is literally the comfiest thing in the entire world. I'm 5'6", I'm a size small. This is a men's t-shirt, so it's kind of big and I'm getting smaller, but it fits well. I just have to tie the bottom. Oh, okay, today is July 16th, 2016, and I am 5 weeks out today. 5 and 8 weeks out from my first 2 shows ever, and I'm so excited. And I've started like a day countdown on my Instagram captions, and today is 35 days out, and 35 days doesn't have anything on me. I am pumped, I'm excited, I am low calorie, I am high cardio, and I am loving it, and I just absolutely love this process so far, and I will do more of a prep update for you guys in another video. All right, let's talk about recovery first. So recovery is essentially your muscles recovering from their workout. So if you've ever worked out, lifted a bunch of weights, and you get really, really sore the next day, that is because your muscles are repairing themselves. When you lift weights, your muscle tissue and your muscle cells are tearing. And I could go into more detail about that, but you could also look at a biology textbook to learn more about that. But so your muscle cells are tearing, and the chemical process of muscle protein synthesis is the repair and restoration of those muscle fibers that have been torn, and they build back stronger if you are taking the right measures to help them recover. So muscle recovery is influenced by how much you train, how often you train, how much volume you're doing when you are training. Your recovery is influenced by your sleep. A lot of people forget about that. And your nutrition plays a huge role in your recovery. It's not just the amount of time you wait after your workout till you're not sore anymore. It's, are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough carbs to facilitate that anabolic response and to facilitate muscle protein synthesis in the areas that you just trained? A lot of people neglect nutrition as well. And one thing that I have been a culprit of neglecting, the final thing, is your stretching and your foam rolling myofascial release techniques to help facilitate better recovery. So let's talk about just time as the first factor. So when you train your muscles, the general recommendation is to split up your muscle groups, like either upper, lower, or leg day, push-pull, or legs and back and bis and chest and tris. And the reason why you are splitting up those muscle groups and not training every single muscle group every single day, A, because that would take like 5 hours a day, and B, because your muscles need time in between workouts to recover. So like if I'm training, let's say I'm training legs twice a week, they're not going to be Monday, Tuesday in my schedule. Like they're going to be probably Monday, Friday, or Monday, Thursday, so that I have the recommended 24 to 72 hours in between the workouts, depending on the intensity and the time and how adjusted you are to lifting in between. So for more advanced lifters, people whose central nervous systems and muscular systems are more adapted to weightlifting and resistance training, then you can probably train a muscle group more frequently. But the general recommendation is that you get 24 to 72 hours in between training muscle groups. So that is 1 to 3 days. So if you don't train with a lot of volume and you do, let's say, an upper lower split, then it's probably okay to just alternate upper lower, because you're not going super hard on like just your back for the entirety of the workout. On your upper body day, you're doing back, chest, shoulders, arms. So think about what your split is like. Think about how much volume you're doing per muscle group. So if you're doing squats, deadlifts, leg press, hack squat, and lunges, and leg extensions and hamstring curls all on your leg day, then that's a lot of volume, and you should be taking like at least a day in between that and your next leg workout, and like obviously you'll be sore. So the next factor that influences your muscle recovery is your sleep. So like I said earlier, if you're not getting adequate sleep, obviously you're not gonna feel 100% in general. Like the next day you're gonna feel tired and sluggish. And with lifting and resistance training and bodybuilding, that is magnified, because if you have like the hardest leg day of your life and then you stay up too late and you have to get up at like 5 in the morning the next morning, your body hasn't had time to rest. Like so many processes go on when you're sleeping. Your body takes the time to recover and restore. So when you're sleeping, you are doing, your body does a lot when you're sleeping, and a lot of people forget that. But just in general, make sure you're getting at a minimum 6 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Everyone is different. Some people can get away with 6 hours of sleep a night. I wouldn't recommend it to really anyone. Like, there is such thing as too much sleep, but I mean, if you're getting 9 hours a night, that's awesome. I'm jealous of you. So that is sleep. The next topic that influences your muscle recovery are your macros, or your nutrition, and how you're fueling your body pre and post workout. Now, to a certain extent, yes, you should be eating relatively soon after your workout, just so you don't go into a catabolic state. Catabolic meaning muscle burning, and anabolic meaning muscle building and fat burning. So you do want to eat relatively soon after your workout. It is not the end of the world if you don't get in a scoop of protein powder 45 minutes in between 45 minutes of your workout. Like, you can wait an hour and you will not lose gains, I promise. But you should be fueling your body post-workout. You should not be lifting super hard and then going straight to sleep. So your macros influence your recovery, less so the anabolic window and what you're eating post-workout, and more so what your daily intake is. So if you are in a caloric deficit, like me, like I'm on prep, I am in a severe caloric deficit, my expenditure is much greater than my intake, I really can't do much about my recovery suffering. That is a downside of cutting, of being in a deficit, of being in prep especially. Your muscle recovery suffers. If your goal is not to cut body fat, and you are in a caloric deficit, then change that. You can be at maintenance and improve your recovery significantly. So with your macros, your protein should obviously be around 1 gram per pound of body weight, maybe a little bit below, maybe a little bit above. That is a optimal range to be getting enough muscle protein synthesis going on. There is a ceiling for that, so eating all the protein in the world is not going to enhance your rates of muscle protein synthesis exponentially. Like, let's say you weigh 100 pounds, eating 300 grams of protein a day is not going to make you build extra muscle. Your protein will probably cap off somewhere around 100 to maybe 120 grams of protein of like efficient muscle protein synthesis, and the rest of that will get converted into glucose through a secondary process and either be used as energy or stored as fat. You don't metabolize protein as energy, but protein can be converted into glucose and then stored as fat and be stored as fat. So like just know that. That was a little off topic too. So with your macros, you must be getting enough calories and enough protein to be facilitating proper muscle protein synthesis to recover at an optimal rate. So if you are either at maintenance, if you're in a surplus and you're trying to put on lean muscle or just bulk, then you should be having no problem with recovery. But if you're in a caloric deficit, know that your recovery will probably suffer a little bit depending on how severe of a deficit you are in. And that is where, if you are cutting, then you should be taking control of those other factors like sleep and your stretching and your foam rolling in order to make sure that your recovery suffers as little as possible. So that was finally to the point. Stay hydrated, fam. So the last factor is your stretching and your foam rolling. So this is very important. Do not neglect stretching. Stretching and foam rolling is not only important for facilitating proper muscle recovery, but is also helpful for gym performance and longevity and injury prevention. If you want to be lifting for a really, really long time, then don't just never warm up and never cool down, because that's how you're going to hurt yourself and have to stop lifting for a long time because you got really injured because you were being stupid. For example, if you have a bunch of knots in your leg and you are trying to play a sport, if you're trying to run around and like play soccer with a bunch of knots in your legs, you're basically going to be limping because you're going to be feeling those knots and they're going to be restricting your range of motion. I'm like grabbing my leg, but you can't tell because it's not in the frame. And like with lifting, if you're trying to perform like a 1 rep max squat, you're not going to be able to do that if you have pain in your leg from muscle knots or sore muscle tears and things like that. Having knots or being tight or not warming up long enough and stretching before your workout. Side note, it is a myth that you should not stretch before your workout. You should be stretching before your workout. The studies that show resistance training decreased performance from stretching pre-workout was when these subjects actually stretched for longer than 60 seconds at a time. From like 60 seconds to like 3 minutes. So if you were stretching for like 20-30 seconds per stretch before your workout and you're doing some dynamics, that is perfectly okay. It is not going to hinder your performance in the gym or your strength at all. It's not going to shut down your muscle fibers. It's actually going to help them perform better. As for longevity and injury prevention, it's kind of obvious. If you have a tight muscle and you try to go 110% on it, you're going to tear it. With that being said, your time in between your workouts, your sleep, your macros and your nutrition, and your stretching and foam rolling are your 4 key things to recovery. So those are very important for performing your best in the gym and not being super duper duper sore all the time. So one thing I was saying on my Snapchat that I asked Snapchat to like screenshot if they wanted a video on this, I was saying that if you are crippled to the point where you can't walk or move your arms after your lift, like the day after for a couple days, and you've been resistance training for years, then there is something off about one or more of those 4 factors. Because if you are controlling your frequency and your sleep and your nutrition and your stretching properly, then obviously, if you're new to a training program, yes, you're going to be very sore, probably for multiple days, and eventually after a few weeks, your body will adjust. But if you've been doing like the same program for, I don't know, 3 months and you are still getting crippled, then you need to be looking at those 4 factors and addressing whatever it is that you are neglecting, because yeah, being sore is a good indicator of a good workout, but it is not the only indicator of progress. If you lift and you're not sore, that doesn't mean that you didn't make progress in that lift, or you didn't do your lift right. It just means your body is recovering properly and has adjusted to the type of training that you're doing. So it's not a bad thing to not be sore, and it's not a great thing to be super duper sore all the time. So without further ado, let's get into the video of me foam rolling and showing you guys how I foam roll. So this first clip is me rolling out my quad. I have what's called a rumble roller. I will put a link in the description to like it on Amazon for you guys, but I would recommend a flat or slightly grooved foam roller rather than my porcupine roller if you do not have a very high pain tolerance. I have been working up to this, so first I would go with a flat roller for a few weeks or months, and then once you're used to that and that doesn't really affect you anymore, then then get one with grooves in it that's a little bit harder. And then if that starts to not really take effect on you, then you can get one of these. So I'm rolling on my quad. I have all my weight on one leg and I am stripping. Awesome. So I have all my weight on one leg and I am putting as much pressure as I can on the quad. I am trying to find knots. So this is where I'm going to talk about myofascial release. So myofascial release is just a fancy term for finding a knot on your body and just pressing on it with your foam roller or your lacrosse ball until you want to cry, basically, and that breaks up the knot. And essentially, if you are like physically breaking the knot in the muscle, it's gonna be painful, and there are people dancing behind me. It's gonna be painful, but it helps to facilitate faster recovery in that muscle, loosen it up, get you nice and nimble. So I have definitely found a knot here. I am getting as much pressure as I can on that one spot. And let me see if I'm about to turn sideways. So you want to get on that knot, and see here I am rotating my leg left and right over where that knot is. Now that is very uncomfortable to do. Do it very slowly and cautiously, but it is very, very effective for myofascial release. So I'm doing that right there. You can see my face like cringing in the corner. So I'm turning just so slightly left and right and stretching it out. I am in so much pain. All right, now I'm moving on to the glute and hamstring. So same concept here. You sit on the foam roller, put as much pressure onto that one leg as possible, roll back and forth nice and slowly until you find some trouble spots. Once you find them, put more pressure on. I found a lot of tightness in my glute ham tie-in this day. This was after a workout with my friend Sarah. We did back, but my legs were super sore from the day before, so I had a ton of knots to get out. So right here I am finding my glute ham tie-in, and there's a huge knot there, so I'm actually pressing down on it with my hand and getting into that spot and rolling over it as slow as I can and really trying to break up that knot. And then switching legs here, doing the same thing. Going a little bit slower at first. Wow, I look like I'm in so much pain. So going slower until you find a trouble spot, crossing my legs over to get the most pressure possible onto that one area, and yeah, my hair is just a mess, so I try to hide that from you guys. But I found a spot. I'm going slowly over it and turning left and right over on that spot, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Rotating back and forth. So this is a really good technique for when you have tight legs. I would recommend doing this type of foam rolling after a workout, the day after or right after the workout, because pre-workouts, doing this for a really long period of time, this is the type of stretching and foam rolling that is actually going to hinder your workout performance, because if you're breaking up those knots, your body's in recovery mode. It's trying to fix itself. After you do all the foam rolling and breaking up the knots, it's not ready to train 100%. So definitely this kind of stuff do post-workout, or just warm up for a little bit, even just in the middle of the day. You don't have to just be working out. It can just be any time of day, warm up for a little bit and then foam roll. I recommend to always foam roll and then stretch. So think about it, you're breaking up the muscles and then stretching them out once they've been broken up, instead of just trying to stretch out muscles that are knotted up. So here I'm doing my favorite stretch. It's for the glute and the hamstring. You literally just bring your knee up and you lay on it. And you put as much of your upper body pressure onto that leg as possible. I try to get my knee as high as I can up to my chest so that I'm stretching out my glute and a little bit of lower back as well. It is actually pretty comfy. I'm kind of just chilling down there, but it is super, super hard on the glute and the hamstring, especially right under the glute. Here I'm doing the butterfly stretch. Easy stretch. We've done this since elementary school. Here I have my elbows on the insides of my knees and I'm actually pushing down to get the abductors stretched out a little bit. And here I am hugging my knee to my chest, stretching my abductors and my glutes and a little bit of outer hamstring, pulling it as close to myself as possible and trying to sit as upright as possible to get the most tension on my lower back, glute, and hamstring. This really works the abductors, which is awesome. I just love stretching my legs. It's just such a satisfying feeling. And here I'm dying and putting my elbow over my knee and crossing over stretches out the lower back and more of the outer glute, the abductor. And this stretch I can't really get too hard of a stretch from, that was redundant. Can't really get that much of a stretch from this move, but it does feel really good on my lower back and a little bit actually on my lat as well. These pants are from Marshalls, by the way. No, TJ Maxx. Bargain shopping. And then I'm doing a quad stretch here. Make sure your heel is in line with your thigh and you're not crossing your leg over. Standing up as straight as possible to get the most extension on your hip flexor as well is very important, so don't be leaning forward when you're doing this stretch. Here is a hip flexor stretch, so if you run a lot, I highly recommend this stretch. Your hip flexors are right outside your groin that go down leading into your quads. They can get really tight from running, really tight from sitting a lot, really tight from squatting. So this here, my back leg is straight. I'm pushing my weight straight down and feeling it right in my groin. And yeah, you really, really feel this one. And then I'm turning, and this stretches your adductors. So the inner thigh here is stretching my right inner thigh. And I'm just getting as low as I can, keeping my left foot flat on the ground and just letting the drag on my right heel from my groin really, really pull that muscle. So then I'm flipping around. Sorry, that's Sarah's finger. And same thing, pushing my hips straight to the floor. This stretch was super painful for me because we just did HIIT cardio, but it is so, so crucial. I think it's called like the spider runner stretch or the spider stretch or something. But regardless, if you do a lot of running or sprinting, make sure not to neglect this stretch. And here, stretching out my abductor again. I just have my hands out in front of me for balance if I need it. And yeah, this is really, really painful, especially when your adductors are very weak like mine. But that is just what I'm doing. So that is all the stretching that I have for you guys. I will probably do an upper body portion for this later on if you guys like this video. So with that being said, that is stretching. That is the time and sleep and nutrition and foam rolling to help better your muscle recovery. So if you found this video helpful, then please give it a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it so that I can make more videos like this, more informative type videos. And leave a comment below. Let me know if you have anything to add, anything you learned from this video, anything you would like to see from me. And I will see you guys in the next video. I will get back on my vlogging game. It's just been a busy week and things are kind of dialing down for me now, so I will be 5 weeks out this week and I want to capture as much of this prep for you guys as I can. First prep ever. And that is it. So I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.